Good morning, guys. In the last class, we discussed about what is IOC container and why we need to go for IOC container. IOC stands for inversion of control, which is providing IOC container is a principle which is managing classes in our application. In a project, multiple classes will be available. One class should talk to another class. When one class is talking to another class, there will be some dependency. Our classes can be tightly coupled. So instead of we are creating the objects directly, we can use IOC container to manage our classes. If IOC container manage our classes, then our classes will be loosely coupled. So to manage the classes, IOC container will perform dependency injection. And yesterday, we created our first application by using IOC container. So what we have done, we created one simple Maven project. Why we are using Maven here? What is the purpose of Maven? Maven is used to download the libraries. So Spring libraries I want. Library is nothing but jar files. Spring libraries we are downloading by using Maven. And then we created our Java classes. And those Java classes we are configuring in the bean configuration file. Why we need to configure Java classes in the bean configuration file? IOC container should manage our classes. Which classes should be managed by IOC container? Those classes we are configuring in the bean configuration file. Okay. Then we are starting our IOC container. How we are starting IOC container? By creating the object. So how we are creating the object for IOC container, guys? To create the object for the IOC container, we are using bean. We can use bean factory, or we can use bean factory, or we can use application context. So application context is a class, or application context is a interface. Application context is a interface. So we cannot create the object for the interface. So then what we are doing? We are creating the object for implementation class. What is the implementation class available for application context? Class path XML application context is available. Class path XML application context is available, which is used to start the IOC container. What is the input we are passing for this object, guys? Bean configuration XML. Bean configuration XML file, it is reading and it is loading what are the classes available here. For those classes, objects are created. So object is creating by IOC container. How can we get the object from the IOC container? How can we get the object from the IOC container? By using getBean method, we are getting the object for the IOC container. Now, today we are going to talk about dependency injection. Yesterday we just started IOC container and we are able to get the bean object. Today I want to perform dependency injection by using IOC container. So already we know what is the definition of the dependency injection. What is the definition of the dependency injection? Yes, creating object and creating one class object and inject into another class object. Creating one class object and inject into another class object is called as dependency injection. Is called as dependency. That means one class object we need to give to another class object. That is called dependency injection. Now today, what I want to develop, I'm going to take one application, same car and engine application is available. So here I'm going to create a class called engine class. I'm going to create a class called engine class. Inside the engine class, I'm going to write start method. Now car class wants to talk to engine class. So here I'm taking a class called car. Inside the car class, I'm writing drive method. Inside the car class, I'm writing drive method. Now my car class wants to talk to engine class and it should call engine class method. If a car wants to call the engine class method, car requires engine object. Car requires engine object. Then car class can call engine class method. So here what we need to do is we need to represent engine as a spring bean. We need to represent engine as a spring bean, and we need to represent car as a spring bean, and we need to inject engine object into car object, inject the car engine object into car object. This is called inject. Once engine object is injected into the car object, then car class method can call the engine class method, call method. So if one class want to call the another class method, object is required. Earlier, we created the object. It is not recommended. I want IOC container to create the object. I need to tell to IOC container to create the engine object, create the car object, and inject car object in engine object into car object. If engine object is injected into the car object, then car class method can use the engine object and can call the engine class method. Are you able to follow me? So this process is called as dependency injection. Can you tell me the definition for dependency injection? What is the meaning of dependency injection? Create one class object and inject into another class object is called as dependency injection. So if you want to inject the object, there should be some variable inside the car class. There should be some variable inside the car class in order to store the object. Now, inside the car class, I will take the variable for engine class. This is a reference variable. Then IOC container should create the engine object, should store that object into this variable. So how we will create the object generally? How we are going to create the object? Engine E is equal to new engine. Engine E is equal to new engine. So instead of we are creating the object, I will just declare the variable. Instead of creating the object, I will just declare the variable. IOC container should initialize this variable. E is equal to new engine. Who has to perform this operation? IOC. Instead of a programmer is creating the object, I want to tell to IOC container to create the object and inject that object into car class. Let's develop that application now. So let me go here. Same process. I'm going to create a Maven project. File, new. So let me check other. So let me choose option called Maven. Maven project option available. Click on next. Now, what is the option here? Simple project. What is the meaning of simple project? Standalone application. Click on next and group ID. What you can give as a group ID? Company name, artifact ID 02 IOC application. This is our second application related to IOC. So click on finish. So with this, our Maven project got created. Okay. So currently Java 1.5 version is coming here. I want to change that. So right click, build path, configure build path, change from Java 1.85 version to some latest version. Edit that, alternate JRE. So there is no JRE available. Let me configure installed JREs. Next one, select the Java installed path, C program files. Where is Java? Yes, Java 17 is available. Select that folder. Now click on finish. I'm going to select the JDK 17 here. Click on apply and close. Alternate JRE, JDK 17. Apply and close. So from 1.5, I changed the JRE to 17. So with this, my project is ready. Go to pom.xml. Any dependencies available in the pom.xml? No. I need to add the dependency here. Okay. First, let me go preferences, appearance, font, basic, edit the text font, edit it, bold, some 28. All right. So now I need to configure dependencies here. To configure the dependencies, we should write a tag called dependencies tag. Inside the dependencies, we need to write our dependency. Which dependency we are adding? Spring context dependency we are adding. Take the context and add it here. When I add the Spring context dependency, it is going to download the jar files which are required for the project. From where it is downloading? mvnrepository.com. So fine, with these dependencies are available. Now I need to develop my Java classes. So right click, new class. So I'm going to create one Java class in.ashokit. Take the class with a name called engine. Now inside this, let me write the method. Okay, public void start int start, something like this. Public int start method we are going to call system.out.println. I will say that engine started. Some value we are going to return some 1. I will write one constructor which will tell you whether object is created or not. System.out.println, I will say engine constructor got executed. So if that constructor is executed, the meaning is object got created. Now let me go here and take a class called car. Okay, I'm taking a class with a name called car. Inside the car class, I'm writing one method, public void drive. Public void drive method. What I want to do inside the drive method, I need to call the start method. So for calling the start method, I need engine variable. I need engine variable. Am I creating the object or I'm taking only reference variable? Am I creating the object? I'm taking only reference variable. I'm taking only reference variable. Okay, now let me go here. eng.start method. It is going to return, when I use eng.start method, it will return some status, whether engine is started or not. Okay, here I will write, if status is equal to 1, that means car started. System.out.println, I can say journey started. Now, if it is not equal to 1, then I will say system.out.println engine problem. System.out.println engine problem. Are you clear with my point? Car class is created, engine class is created. What is the difference between yesterday's program and today's program? Yesterday in the car class, I have not taken this variable. Yesterday in the car class, I have not taken this variable. I have taken variable. Can I say this is object creation or reference variable creation? Object is not available. Just I am creating the reference variable. So this is a instance variable. Can I call this is a instance variable? So can you tell me what is instance variable in the Java? The variable which is declared inside the class, outside the method, without static keyword. The variable which is declared inside the class, outside the method, without static keyword is called as a instance variable. When the memory will be allocated for instance variable? Whenever you create the object for the class, memory will be allocated for the instance variable. What is the type of the variable? What is the data type of the variable? Class. So can I say it is a reference variable now? So if I don't, am I initializing the variable? I'm not initializing the variable. Am I initializing the variable or I'm not initializing the variable? I'm not initializing. If I don't initialize, can I say JVM will initialize with the null value? What is the default value for the reference variable? Null value. So this is a instance variable which is declared inside the class, outside the method, without static keyword. Whenever object is created for the car class, memory will be allocated for the instance variable, and this instance variable will be initialized with the default value. The instance variable will be initialized with the default value. Based on the data type, it will initialize the variable. What is the data type of the variable? Engine. So what is the default value? What is the default value? Default value is null. So eng variable will hold null value. Null dot method. What will happen when you use null object? We are going to get a null pointer exception. Are you able to follow me? Yes. Now, so engine class is available. Engine class having a constructor. and there is a method available. Car class is available. Inside the car class also, I will write one method. Perfect. Car class is available. Inside the car class, I'm taking engine class variable, but I am not initializing the variable. Who will create the object for the car? IOC. And who will create the object for the engine? IOC. Whenever the object is created, constructor will be called. Instance variables will be initialized with the default value. Okay, fine. Any questions in these two classes? Very simple Java classes I have taken. One is engine, another one is car. Inside the car class, I'm taking the reference variable of the engine and I'm calling the start method. I'm just taking the reference variable. I'm not initializing the variable. I'm not creating the object. So the default value will be null value. Null dot method, null pointer exception. Is this clear for everybody? Yes. Now I want to represent these two classes as spring beans. I want to represent these two classes as spring beans. Why we need to represent these classes as spring beans?
Because
IOC container should manage our classes. I don't want to create the object. I want IOC container to create the object for my classes. I want IOC container to create the object for my classes. How to represent our classes as the spring bean classes? Go to resources folder, new, create a file. What can be the file name? Anything, spring-beans.xml. I'm creating a file, spring-beans.xml. Finish. XML file is created. So in this XML file, we should write some tags. Okay, let me tag this beans XML. Yesterday we have taken from the internet. This is the XML. Okay, in this XML, I want to represent my Java classes as spring beans. Can you tell me how to represent Java class as a spring bean now? Come on.
Sir.
By using bean id engine class. What is the class name? In dot ashok id dot engine. In dot ashok id dot engine. So with this, engine class will be represented as a spring bean. I want to represent car also as a spring bean. Bean id car id is equal to car and class is equal to in dot ashok id dot car. So like this, I have taken engine class and car class as my spring beans. Are you clear with my point? Perfect. Next what? Now I want to start the IOC container and I want to get the bean objects. I want to start the IOC container. I want to get the bean object. So let me create one more Java class. That class I'm taking as a test class. Okay. So let me take a main method inside this test class. Now tell me, I want to start IOC container. How to start the IOC container? Come on. How to start the IOC container? Application context. Context is equal to new class path XML application context. What is the input for this object? Bean XML. What is our bean XML? Spring-beans.xml. All right. So this is the logic which is used to start IOC container. For that IOC container, we are giving XML file as an input. Then what the IOC container will do? What the IOC container will do? IOC container will read the XML. IOC container will read the XML. In that XML, what are the beans available? Engine bean available, car bean available. It will create the object for those bean classes. It will create the object for those bean classes. Can I run the program now? Yes, run as Java application, which is having a main method. Can you see now? Objects are created or objects are not created. Engine class object is created, car class object also created. Now, I want a car object. I want to drive the car. I want to drive the car. So what I need to do now? I need to get the car object. Am I creating the object? IOC creating the object?
IOC creating the
IOC
object.
creating the object. How can I get the object from the IOC container? Come on, guys. What is the method I need to use? I need to use context dot get bean. Which object I want? Target object I want. I want to drive the car or I want to only start the engine. I want to drive the car. Car will start the engine. Okay. I want to get the target object. Car is my target. Car is depends on the engine. Okay. I want to get the car object. Can you tell me the logic to get the object now? How to get the object? Context dot get bean car dot class. Car is a spring bean. I want to get the car object. So it will return the car object. Let me store the car object into one variable. Now, once the car object is available, car dot drive. I got the object from the IOC container. Using that object, I'm going to call the drive method. Any confusion? No. What we have done today? Same thing. Whatever we have done yesterday, same thing we are doing. But today we will add a dependency injection. Yesterday, just we started IOC container. Today, I will perform dependency injection with the help of IOC container. Able to follow me? Right. I created one project. In that project, I am using Maven. Maven will download the Spring dependency. In the pom.xml, I am adding the dependency. I'm creating my Java classes. I'm creating a configuration file. In the configuration file, I'm adding the XML data. Then in that XML, I'm configuring my Java classes as the Spring Beans. Then I'm creating one test class. Inside the test class, I'm taking a main method. Inside the main method, I'm starting the IOC container. Can you tell me the logic again to start the IOC? Come on. What is the logic? Application context. Context is equal to new class path XML application context. What is the parameter for this one? Spring bean.xml. That XML file I am passing as an input. This is just to start the IOC. Now, when I start the IOC, what will happen internally?
We need to understand and create the object.
Also. We need to understand internals also. If you want to get more confidence on the subject, you need to understand how framework is working internally. Framework classes we are using. Framework libraries we are using. Framework is providing the common logic. Starting the IOC container is available in the Spring framework. Starting IOC container only my requirement or it is universal requirement? Everybody who is using Spring framework will go for IOC container. So programmer will write the logic to start the IOC. Framework will provide the logic to start the IOC. Framework is providing because it is a common logic required for everybody. So they have created one Java class for us. If you create the object for this Java class, then IOC container will start. They created one class. If you create the object for their class, they will start the IOC container. How they are starting IOC? Do we know that? How they are starting IOC container? How they are reading the XML? How they are creating the object? Do we know that? All of you completed core Java. In the core Java, OOPS concepts are available. In the OOPS concepts, there is a principle called abstraction. What is the meaning of abstraction? What is the meaning of abstraction? Hiding the unnecessary details. Provide the useful information to the programmer. Can I say, I am using abstraction here? In the interview, they will ask you a question. Can you tell me where you have used abstraction in your project? IOC container logic is abstraction for us. Spring people developed the logic to start the IOC container. How they are starting the IOC, how they are reading the XML, how they are creating the object, how they are giving the object to us, that is not required for us. That is a abstraction for us. They are telling, boss, you want IOC. That is my headache. You just create my object. I will take care of starting the IOC container. I will take care of reading the XML. I will take care of creating the object. I will give the object. What I am doing, you don't need that. You don't need that. I will give you flexibility. I am abstracting my logic. Framework logic is abstraction for us. You just take the useful data. What you need? Objects you need. So you give me the XML, I will read the XML, I will create the object, I will give the object. Can I say Spring framework is following abstraction here? Can I say Spring is following abstraction here? When you are learning core Java, you may not get the full clarity on all the concepts of core Java, because core Java is a fundamental. In the core Java, you need to learn the language basics. In the core Java, you need to learn the language basics. You learned inheritance. Where to use inheritance in the project? We don't know. We know polymorphism. Where to use the polymorphism in the project? We don't know. We know abstraction. Where to use? No. Encapsulation. Where to use? Don't know. You know multi-threading. You know how to create a thread. You know what is multi-threading? What is the purpose of multi-threading? How to create the threads also. How many ways we can create the threads?
2 ways. Either by extending the thread class or by implementing runnable interface.
If you know only 2 ways, you are pure Amirpet student. In the industry, thread will be created in 3 ways. And in the real time, we will use a third approach. Thread class we don't use in the real time. Runnable also we don't use in the real time. In the real time, thread will be created by using callable interface. Do you know callable interface?
Yeah, it's a functional.
Not JDBC callable, thread callable.
It's a functional interface prior to Java.
In the Java 1.5 version, Sun Microsystem introduced one interface called callable interface, which is used to create a thread in the Java. So actually in the Java, thread can be created in 3 ways. One is by extending thread class. Second one is by implementing runnable interface. Third one is by implementing callable interface. In the real-time project, we will use a callable interface, not runnable interface. You understand what is the difference? What is the difference? I told you, frameworks are very, very important. Real-time knowledge is very, very important. So you know multi-threading, but do you know where to use multi-threading in the project? First of all, you don't know how to create thread in the real-time standard. In the real time, we will create the thread by using callable interface, not runnable interface. Do you know executor service in the Java? No. Actually, to work with multi-threading in the real time, we will use a callable interface with the executors framework. That is called concurrent threading. The concurrent threading concept available from Java 1.5 version onwards. And in the core Java, why they will not teach all these things? Why your core Java faculty not teaching all these things? Some people are real time, but at that time, your mind is not ready to accept all that content. If they teach all these concepts in the core Java, you may not be able to understand. That's why some topics they are hiding. Once you come to the framework, then you need to learn those concepts along with the scenario. So I will tell you where to use multi-threading in the project, where to use polymorphism in the project, where to implement inheritance in the project, where abstraction will be there in the project. All the frameworks we are using, they are examples for abstraction. Framework is providing common logic. Do you know how they implemented common logic? We don't know. That is an abstraction for us. Are you getting my point? So if anybody asks you, where you have used abstraction in the project, simply you tell them that application context is equal to new class path XML application context. I'm just creating the object for a class. When I create the object, lot of logic executing in the background, that is abstraction for me. That logic is provided by Spring Framework. They are starting the IOC container. They are reading the XML. They are loading the Java classes. They are creating the object for the Java classes. They are creating the objects for us. They have implemented a lot of logic, but we don't know what is that logic. That is an abstraction for us. Are you able to follow me? Right. So when I'm teaching this framework, I will touch all your core Java concepts and you will understand where to use that core Java concept in the project implementation. Then you will get more understanding on the core Java. You will get better understanding on the Java concepts. Able to follow me? So I told you, this 3 months of journey is a game changer for you. Whatever 3 months you are spending with me, that is a lifetime achievement for you. You are going to get the job with this 3 months of course. Okay, lot of real-time concepts. Whatever I have learned in my 11 years of experience, I will share. So if you take it seriously, if you practice, you will become a very good independent Java developer. So if you practice on daily basis, lot of content you are going to learn. And whatever the content you are learning in my class, that is not for the freshers. This is not at the fresher level. I am teaching the content with 11 years experience. So you can keep 3 to 4 years of experience very easily. With this subject, you can show that you are having 3 years experience in the Spring Boot and microservices. Because whatever I am doing in my company with 11 years, same thing I'm teaching for you. So Aram say very easily, you can keep 3+ years experience as a Spring Boot microservices developer if you follow me for the next 3 months very seriously. You got my point? Good. So it is your life turning point. And if you attend my Spring Boot microservices, my Java project, these 2 courses will be last courses for you in the Amirpet. After these 2 courses, you no need to join any other course in the Amirpet because you are going to learn 20+ real-time tools. You will learn the Spring Boot, REST API, microservices, AWS Cloud, Linux, 2 mini projects, 1 major project development also. With that knowledge, you can attend the interviews, you can get the job. Not only teaching the subject, definitely I will make you quick learner, I will make you self-learner, I will make you independent. What is the meaning of that? Tomorrow, if any new task comes to you, you no need to come to me, you no need to come to Amirpet. You can learn the concept on your own. You can do the things on your own. You no need to take somebody help to do your job. Are you getting my point? So that you need to focus. For the Amirpet people, this is the biggest problem. They will do the course. They will learn the subject, but they will not try the things on their own. Always they will depend on the faculty. You should not do that. You should not do that mistake. If you want to survive, you need to become a good self-learner. I will tell you how to become like that. Good. So here, I'm starting my IOC container. If I start my IOC container, what is happening in the background? They are creating IOC container. They are reading my XML. They are reading the data in the XML. They are creating the objects. They are giving the objects for us. Can I say it is the abstraction for us? Can I say this is abstraction for us?
Yes, sir.
And they will ask you, where you have used overloading in your project. Do you know what is overloading? What is overloading?
Providing a
Multiple
customized
parameters.
implementation.
Same method with multiple parameters is called as overloading. Okay. Here, if you see, for IOC container object creation, you can pass 1 parameter or you can pass 2 parameters also. Constructor overloading. A constructor can take 1 parameter or constructor can take 2 parameters, can take 3 parameters also. It is a overloading. Okay, we will come to all these core Java topics as part of our Spring Boot. Good. Now, I'm starting my IOC container. Now, can you tell me what will happen when this line of code is executed? IOC container will be started. They will read the XML. They will validate the XML. They will load the beans available in the XML. They will create the objects for those beans also. So that means our Java classes will be managed by IOC container. Such kind of classes are called Spring Bean classes. What is a Spring Bean? Come on. What is a Spring Bean?
Those classes
the Java class, which is managed by IOC container, is called as a Spring Bean. What is the managing by IOC container? Object creation, object lifecycle, object removing, object creation, object destroying will be taken care by IOC container. Let me run this application now. Run as Java application. So when I run this, what is happening? Objects are created. How the objects are created? Abstraction. How the objects are created? Abstraction for us. Okay, good, fine. Now, once the objects are created by the IOC container, I want to get the objects from the IOC. Do you know how to get the object from the IOC? Come on, how to get the object from IOC? By using context dot get bean. Which object you want? Target object or dependent object? Target. So in this example, who is a target, who is a dependent? Car is a target and car is dependent on the engine. So I want to get the target object. Okay, so let me write the code. Context nothing but a reference variable which is holding IOC object. Context is a variable which is holding IOC object. Using that IOC, I want to get the bean object. Context dot get bean of car dot class. Context dot get bean of car dot class. What is the return type? Car object. The return type is car object. Once you get the object, by using the object, can we call the method? By using the object, can we call the method? Then
Yes.
C dot drive. C dot drive. So when I call the drive method, what will happen? It will go to the car class drive method eng dot start. What is eng? Variable. Belongs to which class? Engine class. What is the value available? Default value. Am I initializing the variable? I am not initializing the variable. I am not initializing. What type of variable it is? Instance variable. What is instance variable? Class level variable. So if I don't initialize the instance variable, JVM will initialize with the default value based on the data type. What is the data type of the variable? Class. That means it is a reference variable. What is the default value for the reference variable? Null. So this variable will have null value. Null dot method, null pointer exception. Getting my point? Yes. So let me run this program. Run as Java application. Objects are created. When I call the method, I'm getting null pointer exception. Cannot invoke in engine start method because this dot engine is null. Boss, your variable you are using to call the method, that variable is a null value. Null dot something, null pointer exception. Able to understand? So IOC container creating the objects, but what is missing? Dependency injection is missing. IOC created engine object. IOC created car object, but IOC don't know. It has to inject a dependent object into target object. Dependency injection not happening. I need to tell to IOC container to perform the dependency injection. So that means IOC container should initialize this variable with the engine object. IOC container should initialize the variable with the engine object. That is called dependency injection. Can you tell me what is IOC? What is DI? What is the full form of IOC?
Inversion of control.
Inversion of control. What is the purpose of that?
To create
To
and
manage
manage
the
maintain the
classes
object.
in the application. What is the meaning of managing the classes?
creating the
Creating the
objects and
objects and
attested.
perform the
Managing the life cycle of the
dependency
classes.
injection. So currently it is just managing, not injecting the objects. What is the meaning of dependency injection?
If one class is
One class
dependent on
object,
other class,
in-
then that is called dependency injection.
What is the meaning of dependency injection? Create one class object and inject into another class object is called dependency
Injecting the-
injection. Are you
Providing
able
the
to understand that?
dependencies.
Right.
by the-
Okay. We are good. We understood how to configure our classes as string beans, but the dependency injection not happening. How to perform dependency injection? Let's take a simple example. Now I am taking one class called user. I'm taking one class called user. Inside the user class, I'm taking a variable called age variable. I'm taking a variable called age variable. So this is a private variable. This is a private variable. Can I access private variable outside of the class? Can I access private variable outside of the class? In the Java, it is possible. In the Java, it is possible. I will prove that. I can access private variable outside of the class also by using reflection API. Do you know reflection API? That is a core Java concept. In the Java, there is a concept called reflection API. Using the reflection API, I can access private variable outside of the class. Yes. Yes, it is possible. That is a violation in the Java. It is possible, but we should not do that. Technically, it is possible. API. There is a topic called reflection topic in the Java. Using that reflection, we can access. I will show you. I need that reflection API in the Spring because Spring framework will use the reflection API to access private variables outside of the class. It is possible. I will explain that topic. Okay. No. Yes, that is what I'm telling you. It is possible, but not recommended. Not recommended. Right. I have a class called user. In the user class, private variable available. I want to initialize this variable outside of the class. Okay. This is my demo class. Inside the demo class, public static void main method is available. Okay. Now, I want to access age variable. I want to store some value to the age variable. So user class available, in that age variable available. Now I want to initialize this variable in the demo class. How can I do that? Can I directly do like this? User u is equal to new user, and can I use u dot age is equal to some 20? No. Why? Directly you can't access the private variable. Okay, I can't initialize like this. Then how can I initialize that age variable? I want to simply, whatever that I'm asking you, if you understand this example, then only you will understand the dependency injection. Okay. I have a class called user. Inside the user class, I have a variable called age. My age variable is a private variable. Now I want to store some value to this variable in the another class. So in the demo class, I want to initialize this variable. How can I do that? Can I access the variable directly with the object? No, because it is a private. Because it is a private. Then what is the option we have? One option is setter method. So I will write one setter method for the variable. Public void set age, integer age, this dot age is equal to age. This dot age is equal to age. Now what I can do here in the demo class, I can create user u is equal to new user u dot set age of 10. Yes or no? Am I initializing the variable? How I am initializing this? Private variable outside of the class. How I am initializing the private variable outside of the class? By using setter method. If you initialize one class variable by using setter method in the another class, this is called as setter injection. What is that, guys? That is called setter injection. What is the meaning of setter injection? Inject dependent class object into target class by using target class setter method. Not understanding. Okay, fine. So my variable is age. What is the type of this variable? Private. Can I access private variable outside of the class? No. That's why what I am writing? Public setter method. What is the purpose of this public setter method? To set the value to this variable. Now anybody who want to initialize this variable, they can call the setter method and they can set the value to the variable. So when I call this a setter method to set the value, that value go as a method parameter. Method parameter we are storing into current class variable. This dot age means current class variable is equal to method parameter value. So whatever that I am calling set age of 10, this 10 value will go to method parameter. That 10 value will be stored to age variable. That means I am initializing the variable by using setter method. If you use setter method To initialize the variable, that process is called setter injection. That process is called setter injection. Are you clear with my point? Yes, tell me, what is a setter injection? What is a setter injection? Initialize the variable by using its setter method. Initialize the variable by using its setter method. That is called setter injection. Is there any other approach available to initialize the variable? Yes, correct. Correct. I can write one constructor also to initialize the variable. Public user integer age, and I am taking this dot age is equal to age. So constructor means parameter constructor I am taking. When I go to user u is equal to new user of 20. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? I am taking a parameterized constructor. For the constructor, I am passing age variable. Okay, I am passing 20. Then what this constructor will do? It will take that 20, it will store into age variable. How I am initializing the variable now? How I am initializing the variable now? By using constructor. If you initialize the class variable by using constructor, it is called constructor injection. If you initialize the class variable by using setter method, that is called setter injection. Dependency injection we can perform in two ways. One is a setter injection, another one is constructor injection. IOC container also will perform dependency injection by using constructor, by using setter method. Now here, my car class is having a variable. What is this variable type? Private variable. IOC should initialize the variable. How IOC can initialize the variable? Either by using setter method of the variable or by using constructor of the class. Are you able to follow me? Yes. Tell me, what is a dependency injection? Injecting one class object into another class object is called dependency injection. How many ways we can perform the dependency injection? Two ways. What are the two ways? One is setter injection, another one is constructor injection. Able to follow me? So what is the meaning of setter injection? What is the meaning of setter injection? Initialize the variable by using setter method. What is a constructor injection? Initialize the variable by using parameterized constructor. Initialize the variable by using setter method, which is called setter injection. Initialize the variable by using parameterized constructor is called constructor injection. Are you able to understand this example? Are you able to understand this example? Yes. Now, let me take one more example. I'm having a class called person. I'm having a class called person. Person class having a variable called passport. I have a class called person. Person class having a class called pass. Now can I say person is depends on the passport? Person is using the passport. Person is using the passport. Fine. So or else let me take another example. I have a ATM class. You go to ATM to withdraw the money. Whenever you withdraw the money, ATM will print a receipt for you. That means inside the ATM, there is a printer available. Inside the ATM, there is a printer available. ATM depends on the printer. Printer depends on the ATM. ATM depends on the printer. Which is the target? Which is the dependent? Target is ATM. Printer is dependent. ATM is depends on the printer. Now, I want to take a class called demo. Inside the demo class, I want to store printer object. How can I? This is a variable. Is there any value available? No. I want to initialize the variable with the printer object. How can I initialize the printer object now? This is a private variable. What I need to do in the ATM class? I need to take a public ATM. For the ATM, I can take the printer as a parameter. Then what I will do? This dot printer is equal to P. So what is the meaning of this? Parameter constructor. What is the purpose of this parameter constructor? To initialize the variable. So if I initialize the printer using this constructor, what it is called? What it is called? Constructor injection. What is the meaning of constructor injection? Initialize the target class variable by using parameterized constructor. That is called constructor injection. What is the other approach available? How to deal with the setter injection? Public void set printer. Take the printer as a parameter. Then you write this dot printer is equal to P. Okay. My target is ATM. I want to initialize the printer in the ATM. I can go with the constructor. I can go with the setter. If I go with the constructor, it is called constructor injection. If I go with the setter, it is called if I go with the constructor, it is called constructor injection. If I go with the setter, it is called setter injection. How many ways we can perform dependency injection? 2 ways. What are the 2 ways? Constructor injection and setter injection. Are you able to follow me? Any confusion? No. Good. Yeah. Now, let me do the same thing in our Spring application. So, there is a variable available in the car class. Now, IOC here in the normal Java program, we are initializing by using constructor or we are initializing by using setter. But do I need to do that initialization manually or IOC container will initialize that variable? Do I need to initialize this class variable manually or IOC will take care of the initialization? IOC will take care of the initialization. If IOC want to initialize the variable, you need to write a parameterized constructor or you need to write a setter method. But currently, do we have a setter method? Do we have a setter method? No. Then how IOC can initialize this variable? Cannot. Currently, setter method is not available. Parameterized constructor also not available. If a setter method not available, parameterized constructor not available, can IOC initialize the variable? No. So the process of initializing this variable is called dependency injection. IOC should take the engine object. IOC should store the engine object into this variable. Then it is called as a dependency injection. How many ways we can do that? How many ways we can do that? 2 ways. What are those 2 ways? By using setter injection, by using constructor injection. Now, I want you to tell me the definition again. There are 3 points that we need to understand. First one, what is a dependency injection? First one, what is dependency injection? Guys, I'm not talking anything new. These are core Java concepts only. Variable, setter method, constructor. Is this related to Spring or related to core Java? Core Java. Variable, for that variable we are writing a setter method and we are initializing the variable with the setter method. You can initialize that variable by using constructor. Parameterized constructor you can use. If you initialize the variable using constructor, it is called constructor injection. If you initialize the variable by using setter method, which is called setter injection. Are you clear? Right. What is a dependency injection? And second one, how many ways we can perform dependency injection? Okay. What are those 2 ways? What is constructor injection and what is setter injection? If you understand these concepts, 50% of Spring Core module is completed. In the Spring Core module, what is the important topic? IOC container dependency injection. Already we know what is IOC. What is IOC? It is used to manage our classes. It will create the objects. It will inject the objects. To inject the objects, it is using dependency injection. How many ways it can perform the dependency injection? 2 ways. What are those two? Constructor injection. Another one is setter injection. What is the meaning of constructor injection? Initialize target class variable using target class parameterized constructor. One class is there. In that class, one variable is there. I want to initialize the variable. For that, I am writing a constructor. That is called constructor injection. If I have a class with a variable, if that variable, if I initialize with the setter method, which is called setter injection. So setter injection, constructor injection. These two concepts are belongs to dependency injection. Dependency injection belongs to IOC container. IOC container belongs to Spring Core module. Are you understanding? Spring Core providing IOC. IOC will perform dependency injection. In how many ways? Constructor injection, setter injection. Any confusion? Are you clear? Good. Now, I want to tell IOC container, hey, IOC, you create my engine object, you create my car object, you give the car object to the engine object. You initialize car object variable by storing engine object. That means you give engine object to the car object. For that, inside the car, I'm going to take one variable here. Inside the car, I will take one variable. That variable is engine ENG. Instance variable I'm taking. Then what IOC has to do? Take the engine object, store into this variable. How many ways it can store into that variable? 2 ways. Either by using constructor of the car class or by using setter method of the car class. Are you clear? Right. Now, let me go to car class. This is a variable. For this variable, setter method is available or not available? Setter method available or not available? Can I write a setter method now? Yes, come on, tell me. What is the purpose of setter method? What is the purpose of setter method? To initialize the variable. That is used to initialize the variable. Come on, tell me the syntax. Public void set ENG. What I am expecting? ENG. Then this dot ENG is equal to ENG. Okay. Let me write one statement. System.out.println set ENG called. If that method is executed, then I can say that yes. If this line is executed, that I can say, then I can say yes, this method is called. Are you clear? What is the purpose of this method? Initialize the variable. Why we need to initialize the variable? Because it is having a default value null. I want to store engine object into this variable. If I store engine object into this variable, then by using that object, I can call the start method. So to perform the dependency injection, we are writing a setter method for the variable. Are you clear? Now, let me run this program and let me check. Setter method is calling. Setter method is not calling. Setter method is calling or setter method is not calling? Not calling. I have created setter method to initialize the variable, but it is calling or it is not calling? Not calling. Why? Does IOC know that it has to perform setter injection? Did I inform to IOC to perform the dependency injection, or I have not informed IOC to perform dependency injection? No. What is there in the configuration file now? What is there in the configuration file now? Just I configured my classes as Spring Beans. Just I configured my classes as Spring Beans. So what IOC is doing? But what about dependency injection? Does IOC know about a dependency injection or don't know? I am not giving any instruction to IOC to perform the dependency injection. What I need to tell to IOC? Hey, IOC, you are creating engine object. You are creating car object also. Okay. You inject, you perform dependency injection. You take the engine object, you give to the car object. I need to provide some instruction to the IOC container to perform the dependency injection. What is dependency injection? Create the object and inject the object. How many ways it can do that? Setter, constructor. Okay. Currently, in my class, which injection is possible? Do I have a parameterized constructor? I have only setter method. So that means what injection can be performed now? First example, you may not get full clarity. I told you already. Within 1 or 2 days, you will not get the clarity. Slowly, step by step, you have to understand. If you develop 3-4 applications like this, then you will get the clarity. So daily, I am adding some new topic. Yesterday, we understood how to start the IOC container. Okay, today, how to perform dependency injection. Tomorrow also, we will work on the dependency injection. Day after tomorrow also, next week also, dependency. Because without having 100% clarity on this concept, you can't learn the Spring Boot. You can't learn the Spring modules. If you go for any module, IOC container, dependency injection common. Okay, because these are fundamentals of the Spring. So that's why we are doing lot of examples on the IOC and DI to get the better clarity. Able to follow me? Right. So why I am writing a setter method here? Come on. Why I am writing a setter method here? To perform setter injection. Why I need that setter injection? Because my variable is a private variable. My variable is a private variable. I want to initialize the variable with the object. I want to store engine object into this variable. I want to store, or I will tell to IOC store. I will tell IOC to store it. I will tell to IOC, hey IOC, you call my setter method, you store engine object into eng variable. I want to tell to IOC to perform setter injection. I want to tell IOC to perform setter injection. To perform the setter injection, first you need to understand what is a target, what is a dependent, where you need to perform the setter injection. Setter injection required for engine class or for car class? Car is dependent on engine or engine is dependent on the car? Car is dependent on the engine. So injection required for whom? Injection required for whom? Car. Injection required for the car. Inside the car, I want to store the engine. Are you getting my point? And inside the car class, I have taken setter method. Now I need to give some information to IOC container so that IOC will call this setter method. By default, when I start the IOC, setter method is calling or setter method is not calling? Not calling. Why it is not calling? It don't know. IOC don't know. IOC don't know that it has to call the setter method. In which class the setter method is available? Car class. Now, to tell IOC to perform setter injection for the car, I will go to the car class. I will write bean definition. I will write the bean definition. Earlier, I have closed bean tag directly. Now, I will not close the bean tag directly. I will write the bean definition like this. Inside the bean, I'm going to write a tag called property tag. I will write a tag called property tag. Property tag will represent setter injection. Are you getting my point? So what is the variable which is available, which is having a setter method? What is the variable? ENG. Property name is equal to ENG. When I write property name is equal to ENG, The meaning of that line is it has to call, IOC has to call setter method for this variable. What is the meaning of the property tag? It has to call setter method of the eng variable. That setter method expecting a parameter. Which parameter it is expecting? Engine object. IOC container should call setter method of this variable by passing engine object as a parameter. Let me give this ID as E, this ID as C. ID can be anything. ID can be anything. Property name is equal to eng, ref is equal to E. Ref is equal to E. Ref is nothing but reference of the object. Which object you want to pass to the setter method parameter. So I want to call setter method of this variable available in the car class. For that setter method, I want to pass reference is equal to E. What is the E here? E is a ID which is belongs to engine class object. With this line, IOC will understand it has to perform setter injection of the car class. It has to call setter method of the eng variable by passing engine object. If I don't write this line, if I don't write that line, IOC simply will create engine object and car object. Will it call the setter method? No. So I want to tell to IOC, hey, IOC, in my car class, there is a eng variable. You call the setter method. That method is expecting one parameter. So you go and call that setter method by using property. Property name is equal to, what is the variable name? eng. Which object I want to inject? Engine object. What is the engine object ID? E. Ref is equal to E. That's it. With this, IOC container will perform setter injection. Are you able to understand? What is the purpose of a property tag? What is the purpose of a property tag? It is used to perform setter in. Property means variable. Property name is equal to eng. For that variable, call the setter method by passing object. Which object? Ref is equal to E. E belongs to which class? Engine class. That's it. That's it. Different tag. Okay. Now go to the test class. Now, can you see what is the logic available in the test class? Can you tell me what is the logic here? Start the IOC container. What is the meaning of starting the IOC? Forget about this. What is the meaning of starting the IOC container? Creating the object. What is happening when I start the IOC internally? What will happen? Read the XML, validate the XML, load the beans, create the object. Only object creation, dependency injection also. Why dependency injection also? Because we are writing one line in the XML. What is the meaning of that line? Property name is equal to eng. Ref is equal to E. What is the meaning of that line? I am telling to IOC to perform setter injection. If you write the property tag, that means we are telling the IOC to perform setter injection. If I want to perform constructor injection, different tag will be available. Are you clear? Now, can we see IOC container performing the dependency injection or not? So what is the confirmation for us? Dependency injection performed. If setter method is called, dependency injection performed. Go here, run as Java application. Setter method called or not called? Setter method is called. What is the meaning of that? Dependency injection performed. What type of dependency injection? What is the meaning of setter injection? Initialize target class variable by using setter method. How to represent setter injection to the IOC container? What is the tag? Property tag. Okay. Fine. So with this, my class object is created. My target class object is created. My dependent object also created. Dependent object injected into target class. Now, can I get the target class object and can I call the method? Can I call the target class method? How to get the object? See here. Listen, wait. Same concept you learnt in the core Java. What is the setter method? Is it a new topic? Is it a new topic? But why it is taking time? Why it is taking time? Because I can see some faces dull. Some confusion is there in your brain. So this concept already you learnt in the core Java. You know what is a variable. You know what is a setter method. You know what is constructor. In the core Java, you called setter method. You called constructor. But here, what I am doing, I am not calling. I am telling to someone to call them. That is the only concept. You understand? Earlier, we called, if you see here, what I am doing here, age variable. U dot set age. I am calling the setter method of the age variable. But when it comes to the project, I am calling the setter method. I am telling to IOC to call the setter method. How to tell the IOC to call the setter method? By using XML. So what is the tag I am writing to tell the IOC to call the setter method? Property tag. What is the purpose of property tag? To perform setter. What is the ref? Which object you want to pass to the setter method parameter? Which object you want to pass to the setter method parameter? We are representing by using ref. Are you clear? Now, go here. I want to get the car object. How to get the car object? Who created the car object? IOC. How to get that object from the IOC? Context dot get bean of car dot class. What is the return type? Car. Car C. Can I call the method? Drive. Now tell me, what will happen when I call the drive method? eng dot start. So eng is what? Variable. Now it is a value default value or it will initialize with the object. When this initialization is happening, whenever the IOC started, initialization will happen. So by the time when I call the drive method, variable will be null or variable will have the object dot start. Engine object will be available. Engine object dot start method, engine will be started. Are you clear? Good. Let me run this program. Run as Java application. What happened? Earlier we got the null pointer exception. Today we are not getting the null pointer exception. Today, last 1 hour, what we discussed. In the last 1 hour, we discussed how to write a setter method for the variable. How to write a setter method for the variable and how to write this one line of tag in the XML. Today, from last 1 hour, we learnt only this concept. Variable name. Class variable name. What is the variable name you have now? What is the variable name here? Yes. Today, from last 1 hour, what we have learnt? Yesterday example, today example, what is the difference? Just we are writing one setter method and we are writing one tag in the Excel. It took 1 hour to understand this concept. Beginning is very, very important. Beginning is very, very important. So you come to the conclusion. Whatever the example we developed yesterday, whatever the example I developed today, if you compare both examples, what difference you can see? One setter method extra added for a variable and one line of tag, one tag is added in the XML. That's it. Anything extra? Anything extra? No. What is the purpose of this setter method? To initialize the variable. What is the purpose of this tag? To call the setter. That's it. This code I have added today. Inside the car class, I have taken one setter method. If we call the setter method by using engine object, that object will be stored to this variable. But who will call this setter method? I will call or IOC should call? How IOC will call it? If you write this one, then IOC will call that. That means we are able to perform setter injection by using IOC container. We are injecting dependent object into target object by calling setter method. That is called setter injection. Are you clear with my point? Any confusion? So today I want you to practice this. Tomorrow we will talk about constructor injection. Get me? So if I want to go for constructor injection, what will be the difference? I will write one constructor, I will write one tag extra, that's it. I will write one constructor, I will write one tag extra in the XML. To call setter method, property tag available. To call the constructor, constructor tag will be available, that's it. 2 times you will write the property. I will show you. Currently we are taking only one dependent, but in the real time, one class will have multiple dependents. Slowly you will understand step by step. समझ में आया? Good. Can you do the practice now? Any questions? If you don't understand also, no problem. Context object variable, okay. Implementation class of that interface, right? System.out.println. Like this. ToString, not a hash code. This is not hash code. Who told you this is hash code? Who told you this is hash code? No, this is not hash code. Hash code, if you want to print, you need to call like this. That is a hash code. If you print the object, it will print toString of the object. Okay? Yeah. Run as a Java application. So that object reference, it is printing in the toString format. Started on this. When the IOC container started, it is printing the time also. Which constructor? This is constructor. We are calling the constructor of that class. This is a predefined class, right? Creating the object means calling the constructor only. That means this class constructor will be executed. Where is that class? In the Spring framework, that class. That is not our class. Yes. No. This is the constructor of which class? Our class constructor or class path XML application context constructor? Class path object created. Now, how can you call the drive method directly without having the reference of your class? You need the reference of your class, right? So that's why we are calling getBean method. When you call getBean method, then it will give you the object. That object you are storing into variable. Using that variable, you call the method. If you don't write this line, where is your object? Where is the reference of your object? Your object is created, but where is the reference? You need the reference to call the method. To get that reference only, we are calling getBean method. Got it? Yes. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? Able to understand what is setter injection? Once again, what is setter injection? Inject a dependent object into target object by calling setter method is called setter injection. Okay. So I will give this example. Just I'm giving the car class. Remaining things are same as per yesterday's session. This is my car class and this is my XML. Today I have changed only car class and XML file. So with this, our class will be executed. And I'm giving my test class. I am creating the IOC object. I am getting the car object and I am calling the drive method. That's it. IOC container creating the object. IOC container performing the dependency injection. What type of dependency injection it is performing? Setter. Why it is performing only setter injection? Why not constructor injection? Because we are writing the property tag. If you write the property tag, that means it is going to perform setter. If I want to perform constructor injection, another tag will be available. Tomorrow we will discuss that. Okay. Can you practice this today? Good. Fine. Thank you. With this, I'm stopping. Tomorrow we'll meet again.